Yo, what is up, everybody? Hope your Sundays are going well. Welcome to episode 2 of the Spamandrice podcast. Today, we are joined by two legends in this community, some of the most outspoken, passionate players there are out there. Hey, what's up, guys? Chuck, you look freaking good. Your setup is. I need to be like you. Yo, I need to be
Thank
like
you,
you.
thank you.
Um. Oh, can you guys hear me? Testing, testing. Okay, yeah, we're good. Sorry, Rollo trolling. All right, anyways, yeah, we're joined with Chuck and Rollo. Rollo, thank you for coming on once again. Chuck, why don't you introduce yourself?
All right. Well, hello everyone. My name is ChuckFresco. Here, part of the community. Been part of the community since March or April 2018. Very early in the launch of Axie. Mostly just been playing Axie throughout the many years. V1, V2, and V3 now with Origins. So it's been an awesome journey to be able to be a part of the community and part of the project this long.
Nice. Thank you so much for coming. Always a pleasure having the OGs, the people that set the path for us and whatnot. And then Rollo, who are you again? Like, what are you even doing here? Yeah, go ahead, take it away, Rollo. Hey, Chuck, can you hear Rollo?
I cannot hear him, but unless he's doing a little mime act right now, not too
All right,
sure.
sorry guys for the technical difficulties. We'll just let Rollo change his mic settings real quick. It's good.
Not very.
I didn't really want to talk to him anyways. I didn't really want to hear what he said. Just kind of wanted to chill and do our own thing. Chuck, it's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah. It's been
Yeah.
a
How
long
about we
time.
just leave him muted? What do you think about that?
No. We need to have the pro insight. I'm not a pro, of course.
Hello.
Hey, what's up,
Damn.
Rollo? We hear you, bro.
Oh, okay, dude. No, wait.
Yeah, but
You?
kind of echoey a
What
little
about now?
bit. Yeah, perfect, brother. Perfect.
Oh,
Hey,
bravo. Hello.
well, you missed your chance to say your introduction, and I'm not going to give you
Yeah.
another chance. So,
Okay, that's fine.
let's hope.
It was
I'm kidding.
cringe,
What's up,
anyways.
Rollo? Well, happy
What
Sunday.
up?
Happy
What up?
Sunday. Hope
Thank you.
everything's
Thank
good with
you,
you and your
GM.
family.
Hi, Chuck.
Mind
Thanks for
giving us an
being here.
introduction?
Low roll.
Yeah, my name is Ralo. I'm a competitive player. I'm also a content creator. Haven't been creating content for a while since having a son has been taking a lot of time from me, and competing while trying to create content while having a son and a family is pretty hard. Not gonna lie. I know that dads out there know it, but yeah, I've been here in the space since V2, not V1, which I'm actually interested to know Chuck's point of view on V1. I never
Yeah.
played it, nor like I've seen some photos right on Google and stuff, but I never
Mhm.
knew what it was all about. So we like wanted to ask him like what was V1 about. But yeah, just it's me, it's me, Rallo.
It's you, Rollo. Rollo,
It's
thank you
me.
so much once again for taking the time out of your day. I know this morning you were taking care of your son and stuff like that. If you guys don't know Rollo behind the scenes, like he says, it's not easy managing, playing pro, creating content, having a kid. I mean, like we can't all be 1437, but we can. I'm
Yeah,
joking, man.
true,
What you
true.
do? Don't forget, Rollo got rank 1 just last era, and this era just started. So you never know what's gonna happen. Anyways, hey, let's hop right into it. So, if you guys are new here and don't really know the background, Chuck is one of the most outspoken people on Twitter when it comes to voicing his opinions. He believes he represents, the more casual player base. And on the other hand, you have Rollo, who's one of the most outspoken pro players in the community. You open up his Twitter, there might be a new complaint every day. And
Word.
these two have actually gone into it before as well. But let's get a little more background story on them. Chuck, what is this whole dilemma about this like pro versus non-pro? What do you stand for? What are your beliefs? Man, inform us all.
Honestly, this whole non-pro and pro situation started because of the pros. Like, ironically, the People's Champ was created because of the pros. A long time ago, I used to play V2, and I'm actually the winner of the first tournament for V2, called the Infinity Cup, and I actually am winner of season 2, of V2. Not many people can claim that they've won a season of V2. Very few of us in that list. But I would also like to say that when I retired after winning season 2 or going into season 4, there was not much for me to continue doing. Like, the competition was very low at the time, not a lot of players yet. So I decided to take a long retirement, did everything, got married, did so many things along that time, things I needed to do in my personal life. But when I returned back, a lot of great players had arrived, like way more talented players than I've ever seen. Indez, Elijah, 1437 near the end of V2. And what these pros didn't notice was I had infiltrated their discords with an alias or alternate account. And I was just reading in to see what they were saying. And a lot of the discussion from the pros was very critical about ChuckFresco. They were saying, ChuckFresco he could never compete with us in this era. He competed in an era that only had 50 people playing. Like, there's no way he can. And that was basically what I was reading, more and more things. And it amused me a little bit. It amused me a little bit because for me, eras like in sports and everything, eras have to be taken in their own era. The best player of a certain era is the best player of a certain era. So I would consider myself the best player of the OG era, the original players era. Like, and a lot of these players, of course, have gotten more skillful, just like in sports. They learn new tech, the game evolves, and everything does get updated over time. So I felt it was a little bit unfair. I talked to Jiho about it. I was like, these guys talking a lot of smack. Like, what do you think? And Jiho was like, dude, I see you Babe Ruth of like Axie. Like, you played in an era, you were the best player then, and like you can't really compare eras too well, he said. And I agreed with him. I thought I never thought about it like that. And really, because of that, because of the pros' animosity towards me, that's when I grew my own animosity towards the pros. And it started like that. It started like that. And basically it led up to the point where I returned, finally in my return, didn't do so well with V2. There was a lot to learn. I was trying to rank up, but it was really challenging. Like I said, the skill had gone up. But luckily for me, Origins was right around the corner. V3, they announced a new game. And that's when I started really practicing and grinding the arena as I had done in the past. And before people realized it was a tournament called the Quest Cup, one of the first tournaments for Origins. And we had a lot of the big hitters. We had Elijah, 1437. We had everyone that you could want in a game. And when we were doing that, like, I got to face Elijah, the greatest player of V2, some people say, in round 1. And I went 2-0 against Elijah, eliminated him. The announcers were in shock. The people were in shock. The champion had arrived again to the game. I ended up facing a lot of great players throughout that tournament. And at the end, I faced the one and only 1437. It was a heavy matchup, 3-2. I barely beat him at the end, but I ended up winning. And the announcers and the people were saying, this is the first time a non-pro player has won a tournament in so many years in Axie. And I was like, yeah, I'm here for the people, by the people. And the people, of course, resonate with me. They're pros. Not everyone in the community is a pro. Maybe 1 to 3% of the community is pro. But the rest of the community, what about them? What do they think? That's when it all started.
Yeah, that's cool.
Man, what
Also,
a backstory. Every villain has a backstory. Chuck and his villain.
I don't see Chuck as a villain, honestly. But also, just trying to say something about Chuck that is actually true. Like, it happens with chess, with chess, Bobby Fischer. Bobby Fischer was like the greatest player of all time. And then Magnus Carlsen appeared, and everyone was saying, like, if Bobby Fischer played Magnus Carlsen, like Magnus would destroy him and whatever. So I kind of like this like vibe of you never know. Actually, you would never really know. It's something that can't happen because we can't go to the past, right? So that's the thing I kind of like.
Sports is always like a great analogy, by the way, Chuck, because like even these days there are people that believe like, Steph Curry might be better than Magic Johnson or LeBron might be better than Michael Jordan. And you can never really debate that because, they're all in their own eras. So it was a really good analogy. So my biggest question is, hey, Ralo, how do you feel about that? Because, hey, let's rewind back to a time. Chuck was posting tweets. Oh, skip turn, easy, you know. And I
Yeah,
believe
I
that's where the
remember. I
friction
remember.
between a pro like
Yeah.
you may be taking offense. And I'm not gonna
Let
lie,
me
as pros
start.
ourselves. Wait 1 second. As pros ourselves, I know what you were thinking. I was like, bro, this guy, literally what Chuck said. I was like, this guy played an era with 10 people. He's talking trash, like it got our blood boiling.
Yeah.
We're all like pros, and we offended each other. What's your side of view on this?
Yeah, 100%. That was my sentiment. I didn't know Chuck. Actually, at that time, I didn't know Chuck like won the season 2 of V2 at that time. I had to like investigate, like, who is this guy? What is he trash talking about, right? And then I found out. But like, just for starters, like, I wasn't a guy who was trash talking Chuck at that time, so I don't believe I started the non-pro versus pro club. So like what I wanted to say is that maybe Chuck, you didn't thought about it, but when you started this like pro non-pro, you divided a part of the community that was actually non-divided. And
Hmm.
I think that was a very important part, because I think that when we divide as a community, then
Hmm.
the message is split. And when the message
Of
is
course.
split, SM is like, well, fuck it. It's 50-50, right? Or I'm
Hmm.
just giving an example, right? Like you do a poll, is turn 2 OP and turn 1 to shit.
Yeah.
And then everyone is like 50-50. So they're like, fuck it, this is okay. So that's a thing I didn't really like about dividing the pro versus non-pro, because when I started Axie coaching. I remember it's a very cringe name, but I wanted to help people, like, I don't know, develop their skills on V2 and stuff. And like I felt like the pro versus non-pro, we were really tight, at least in LATAM. Like I helped
Hmm.
them, and then they used my referral code, or they went to my stream. So we scrubbed each other's backs, and that was kind of nice. And then when
Hmm.
this whole thing started, like people starting getting to this, your side, my side, or my side. You know what I mean? Like pro side, non-pro side, whatever.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's good to have this like kind of banters, and like, yeah, fuck you, Chuck, you're the worst, and you're like, yeah, fuck you, Rallo. But like, uh, aside from that part, it's like sometimes I feel like the division is not good. Like non-trolling. This is my non-troll message.
Yeah,
Now,
Non-troll.
actually,
Okay.
go ahead,
yeah,
Paulo, continue.
no,
Did you
please,
have?
Pam,
Oh,
take over.
yeah. So basically, yeah. I'm not gonna lie, Chuck. You were one of the biggest influencers in Axie Infinity, right? Do you think that if it weren't for you, like this whole pro versus non-pro thing would have ever been a thing, or what would people have called it? Casuals versus pros.
Cash.
Do you think you had a part in this?
I'm surprised, honestly, that it took off. Honestly, you know why it took off. That tournament is when it took off. Because when I showcased that
I
the pros
remember. Yeah,
are not immortal, that they can be defeated, that they're not God's grace to Lunacia or whatever. A simple man could defeat him. Then it started off the thing when people could see that if a god bleeds, like, are they really God anymore? Kind of thing. If the pros bleed, is it possible? So
Yeah.
that's what really like triggered people. If I wouldn't have won that tournament, probably nothing would have continued on from there. But I do think it would have come out regardless of that. It happens in every game. There's always discussions about what's
true.
good for the pros. Like the pros always want more skillful gameplay, more like tedious stuff to do sometimes, while the casual players just want to have fun, like want to have more of fun. And like the game developers are always like debating with themselves, I'm sure, about what is the right approach to a balance. Like if we do this, yeah, the 1% or 3% will be happier because they're the pros, they're the top, but everyone else will be miserable because these mechanics are not fun for everyone else. So it's always gonna happen, I feel, in any game, this kind of separation. But honestly, I do feel a little bit bad for causing a divide. I feel my own antagonism, my own like anger towards the pros did get fueled and resulted in this situation. But I do feel it would have happened indirectly in some
True.
way. It would have
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
it
feel
would
that
have
way.
been
I feel that way
animosity.
as
I
well.
feel like maybe you speaking out made other people, like a Jinwoo or something, have the courage to speak out too about getting like backlash, and that's really good because you do have to stand up for the other side of the community. My only
Mhm.
gripe on it is like sometimes it gets a little I feel like sometimes on Twitter, it gets a little spicy.
But
So
that's
it is
what
what it is.
Twitter is all about, right?
Yeah.
So
Twitter's all
let's be
about that.
honest.
But
It's
yeah,
all about
let's
that.
transition. Speaking of pro players, let's transition to our next topic. I know Chuck has
Ooh,
quite
this is a
opinion on this.
spicy one.
Do you think pro players are entitled? Like, I'm gonna start off with this. A lot of times I open up Twitter and we demand a lot, right? I remember even just like one story. This is one story. Like, we knew we were getting spoiled. I think I was like with my friend Meat Value, and we were traveling to Brazil, and then we just started like complaining. We're like, man, the hotel's not as nice. Oh, what? They're not driving us out. Oh, wait, what? And we're like, wait, what a minute. Let's take things back into perspective here. We are grateful to be in this situation. Axie has done a lot for us. So there's two sides of the coin for this argument. Coin number one is like, Axie pretty much gave us like everything, like our platform and everything. And on the other hand, you have pro players that are like, no, we need more tournaments. What do you mean you're going to stop doing tournaments, et cetera, et cetera? Do you feel like you ever see entitlement coming from a pro player?
I mean, it happens, like I said, in every game too. Like, it just tends to happen. The more fans, the more like following, the more like influence you have, it does tend to get to people's head. Like, not everyone. Some people can stay humble even in having so many fans, but some people do. It just grows naturally. It's just something like human nature causes people to become like that. And sometimes it shows in their personality. Sometimes it shows like you meet some people and you think that they're different in person, but like you can see that they have a bit of an ego. And I think a lot of pros do have a lot of ego, but you have to have a little ego to really be that competitive. It is something that happens, but entitlement, some of them do. I feel some of them do. And if the game were to grow much greater, it would only get worse, I feel, over time. Like, do I feel that pros are treated well in Axie? I think for the most part, I don't know any game where just playing ladder, you can make so much money just playing ladder, being number one in ladder. Like, most ladder, you don't earn anything, but playing ladder helps you get sponsorships. It helps you get different things, like showing how strong, or even enters you into tournaments and stuff, or helps you join a partnership with the esports team. But Axie actually gives a lot of money just from playing ladder, just from playing their game. So I do feel like they should be a little bit more like understanding of what they have, but sometimes you need a reality check on those things. Sometimes you need to see like the full view of all of esports to really understand what your situation really is.
Agree. And how about you, Rollo? As someone that also, you ask for a lot, you've also made friends with a lot of people in the Sky Mavis team and gotten to know them more personally. Do you feel like you're ever asking for too much, or like do you feel like everything's warranted, et cetera, et cetera?
So I have a lot of takes on this point, and I'll try to be organized so I don't say a lot of shit.
Yeah, because we have other topics later. Okay, sir.
I know, but I'll try. So first of all, I believe this season is very different from the others. Like, usually, yeah, pros were treated very nicely, but this season was very harsh for pros. Maybe as a non-pro yourself, you don't notice. I'm just kidding, but like for pros, it is actually very harsh because yeah, Axie has one of the best payments out there for ladder, but it also has probably the highest investment out there for ladder, mainly because when when you test a team, if one Axie has one different card, like you have a 5 of 6 perfect Axie, you need to go get the 6 of 6 if you want to really be like competitive enough. And the testing, the buying of the first Axie, the buying of the second, the third one, the fourth one, the runes, the charms, this comes out as a really big expense. Yes, you can go to Axie.io and copy a deck, and maybe you copy a perfect deck and it goes out cheap. You might as well, but if you want to compete for the highest level, you need to invest a lot of money. Even sometimes you lose a lot of money, even because you told us we bleed, like we're not perfect, we can have a bad season. So if we invest, I don't know, 1 Ethereum in a season that pays, I don't know, 2 Ethereum to the first guy, we can, I don't know, get top 70, and then we lost 2 ETH, right? So we actually do invest a lot. So yeah, I agree. It's one of the best payments out there, but the investment in time and in money is actually very high. And I wanted to point that out. And my second point is that yeah, entitlement is something that happens, as you said. So we're humans. We bleed. We commit. We make fucking mistakes, like Dr. Disrespect said. But sometimes that comes out of being like too invested. I'm not meaning financially. I mean like invested, like physically, life, my 24 hours, my brain, like we're invested to this game. We spend every day, every hour, like I'm sleeping and I think about this game. So yeah, that's where I think the entitlement comes from. It's like, yeah, we invest a lot and we make the market move. So I think it's important to keep us, like motivated. And sometimes when you demotivate and demotivate at the third time, it feels like you're punching my balls. And I don't know. I won't leave this ecosystem because I love it. I'm in love with Axie, and Axie is everything for me. But I think that if there were other games out there which paid the same amount and would be as fun, and the investment would be maybe a little lower or the same, I think some pros or some high competitive players would consider leaving. And I don't think that's a nice approach to have as Sky Mavis. That's my personal view, because I think pros are kind of, some guys look at us as entitled bitches who only complain, but we actually do stuff for the ecosystem. I
Yeah,
do
for
mean
sure.
it.
So I'm agree with all your points. I'm just gonna come out and I'm just gonna give you guys a hot take. All right.
Sure.
Maybe it's something Chuck wants to secretly say, but he's holding back, biting his tongue. Um, Bro, I not for everyone, right? But I do think a lot of players are made from Axie, and this is giving them like everything they wanted. Um, and it's such a small portion. I see a small, like very very upper echelon of the top players asking for things, demanding things, and I personally think the ecosystem. Oh gosh, this is gonna sound really bad, but it's like if you think about it, it's the truth. If they left the ecosystem, right? Would that change? Would that change anything? I feel like there's a lot of pro players, a lot of people that are like, we need pros because it moves the market. Oh, we need pros because they theory craft, they breed, and everything like that. But I always like firmly believe it's like next man up.
Yeah,
Don't forget,
I
like
agree.
most games, you can't just play and make a living unless you are, the 1%. And in this game, I feel like anyone has a chance to, just because. First of all, you don't have to be born of God like FPS skills or anything like that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm not like saying like, oh, I don't care if you guys leave, right? But like even someone like myself, I left for a season, and I feel like Axie did perfectly fine with or without me, right? And I'm a content creator, a pro player, and everything like that.
So you think it would be good for Axie if I don't know, Theban left the scene?
Okay, if me, you, Theban left the scene, don't you think there'd be another streamer, Spamandrice,
But
popping
I'm
up?
not saying that not. Yeah, maybe another Spamandrice hops up. But what prevents that new spam from leaving in 1 year? Nothing. And then you don't really have a community. You just have people who come, invest, and get the money out, and then come, invest, and get the money out. People like us who are really, really, really deep in the community, we reinvest all of our money. Like, ask any pro player, we reinvest 70% at least. We have our money on Ronin, on Ethereum. We buy a lot of expensive Axies, expensive runes. People who just came into the ecosystem are not going to buy very expensive Axies, are not going to buy very expensive runes, are going to take their winnings out because they're going to look at this as just a game. And to have a player who competes and is very deepened in the community is not the same as a player who just competes, for me. And we have an added value because we're 2 years into the ecosystem. So for example, what's the difference for you if Cloud White sold all of his Mystic Axies, all of his land, and then another guy comes in and buys the land and buys the Mystic Axies? It's not the same, right? even though the money is still in Axie, it's not the same because Cloud White is a guy who provides other things for the community. So that's why how I see pros. It's like Mystic holders. Yeah, you can sell the Mystic and get out, but you kind of value people who are for 2 years, 3 years in your ecosystem. I think that's what Axie is all about.
Yeah, for sure. So you want to like kind of please that core community, right? And these are the people you want to build your community off of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not. Wait, and just one little thing. I'm not saying that with this statement you should say yes to everything a process, right? I agree in a way that you sometimes you need to say no. Sometimes you can consider stuff. So we need to negotiate, quote unquote, right? But I don't think that like yeah, you don't like it, leave would be a smart call for SM. I don't think.
I don't think that's their mentality or their intention. But I do feel like that's how we come off sometimes. It's like, hey, please me, otherwise we're out, right? And I do genuinely feel
for sure.
Fine. Maybe I was being a little humble, right? But there are some people out there where I'm just like, dude, you just be the next man up would come. You see it every season. There's new players climbing the leaderboards, climbing the ranks, can quote unquote call themselves a pro. If a person leaves an organization and they want to fill out that roster spot with like another pro player, there's people that would dream of like taking that spot, right? And I really do feel like, you know, especially during a bear market, the critique coming from some of like the pro community does get very negative sometimes. And then and at that point, it's just like, whoa, like, you know, chill out. So it's like a mixture of both. I do agree, Rollo, because don't forget, even though this is like a take that I'm doing, I'm in the same boat as you. I want to be the core community that actually builds around. I want things to. It's just important for me to be careful of how I construct my criticism.
Yeah, but it is different, right? Because like even though you are a pro and you compete and you create content, like you have to remember you're part of the 0.00001%, not even the 1%. Because if Axie stops paying, you'll still have a life to do about Axie, right?
Okay, yeah.
So it's not actually fair for people who don't have a salary or don't have a content creation to back up on or whatever, right?
What's your take on this, Chuck?
Kind of like you, Spam. I do agree with like the next man up kind of theory. And I only will say it's not the same, obviously, but similar comparison when there was a big creator exodus when the hack happened inside of Axie. And the creators had a strong belief that if we were to leave, then Axie would die because we sort of created Axie. Like Axie, because of our efforts, because of this, Axie did not create us. We created Axie kind of mentality. So it happened. A lot of creators left. It did hurt Axie a little bit, like it hurt it for a little bit. But over the time, more creators came in, more creators became big. And I think around that time, Spamandrice was one of the creators that really, and as soon as I saw Spamandrice's streams, I was like, this guy's gonna be the next guy. Like I can already tell just from watching him that he's gonna really take over. So people do get in a sense replaced. Like people think that their influence is the greatest, but their influence is only as great as the game they're playing. If they leave Axie, a lot of their influence goes away really quickly. So I do believe like there's a lot of people that are waiting behind all these people to get the next opportunity. I do agree. I just believe that. And from seeing that specifically with the creator situation, I also was trolling them as well during that time. I saw that Axie can survive without all the best pro players. Axie can survive without like the best creators in the space. Like it's possible. And Axie can survive a lot of things. Like they've survived the hack, they've survived so many bear markets. Right now, we're currently in a bear market, as you know. Um, so Axie is very resilient through all these things, and it's because their product is good. That's what a lot of people don't give Axie enough credit for. The product of Axie is very solid. The Ronin network, very fast. If you try to do these transactions on Ethereum network, it's not going to work out. You're going to be paying $50 per transaction. Try to breed, try to buy stuff. It's not going to happen for the community. But they have Ronin network. They have a pretty solid game in Origins. They even have V2 like that they have in the background too. So they have a lot of stuff that people don't give actually credit for of why they're so resilient. They have other people coming into the community for different projects. I just played a Wild Forest. That's another project that's being brought into the Ronin, and they're joining the Ronin network because of its strength. Like it's not just because of the creator, it's because of the strength of the network, like the strength of what they've built over time. And yeah, you can go to another game, but I really don't see the influence being that great at that point. But that's just my own personal belief. I just saw it a little bit. Like I look at some of these top creators' YouTube videos, some of them barely even reach 100, 200, 300 views. Like it for such a supposedly great creator, it's very almost embarrassing how many views they get. But I sometimes even get more views than them, ironically, and I'm not even like touting myself like I'm the best creator that ever created kind of thing. So I don't know. That's just my perspective, and you only see it from being in the space a long time. That Hexy will survive one way or
Yeah,
another.
I've seen it happen. As we know, there was a lot of OG creators, right? And they
Yeah,
popped off, especially during the V2 era. And then when they left, you can see it now. Like, they don't get as many engagements on their tweets.
yeah,
We don't even know what some of them are doing now, because guess what? I still think like Axie is a really good product. It's 100% better than any like Web3 product out there. That might be biased, but maybe numbers can even like make that a fact and whatnot. And I just, before sometimes I do get salty. A lot of times I do get salty, and I do want to give feedback, and I do want to demand things. It's kind of just important for me to step back and remember, like, I don't want to be one of those guys that just switch onto another Web3 game and then become like irrelevant forever. Like. So, but there,
yeah.
Rollo has a really, really good point too, man. You really have to, you know, practice what you preach. And if you really want these people in your community, like, these are the people you want in your community, the ones that are in and
Yeah,
out day in,
Mhm.
day out.
and
Treat them
just
well.
as a closing ceremony treatment, and we can go to next topic. Like when
Mhm.
this hack happened, Chuck, I was scared the shit out. Right, I was
Yeah,
fucking scared because Axie was my life at that time, and I
yeah,
didn't even consider leaving because as I told you, I breathe Axie, and this is something I talked with Jiho when he came to Argentina. I told, yo, Jiho, you know what's sick about Axie? I don't imagine myself living without it. And he told me,
yeah,
yo, that's sick, because I went into this I don't remember, it was a workshop or something about his high school, or I don't remember. He said, like, they told me, if someone can't imagine themselves living without your product, then you succeeded, right?
yeah.
So
No,
that's something I actually like have to give you your point there. Yeah, that's true. Like Axie has succeeded on that, and I think they will survive with or without us. But
mhm.
I don't think that should be the approach. Like, yeah, we'll survive, we'll make it. Like, no, no, no. Value us. Like, try to keep us close, because I want to be close as well. I'm not talking to keep close like this entitled people who you're talking about, like this, like, and you have to agree with me, this is like 0.001%. It's not like the high
Yeah,
majority of the creators, because I
of
was
course.
like, I'm not an OG, but I started pretty early, and I never, like, from my community and Latam, I never, like, I didn't see like a lot of people leaving. So
Mhm.
yeah, I agree with you. Like, that's not the way, but that's also not the way for them, I feel, right? So we should be in a middle ground or middle point where,
I
like, we
agree.
value each other, and like we try to
Yeah,
keep us close, right?
So yeah, great points, guys. So yeah, let's transition to speaking of people leaving, let's transition to the next topic. And the next topic is gonna be about V2. Because guess what?
Oof.
V2, when it changed, when we transitioned from V2 to Origin, it might have caused a lot of the player base to leave, right?
I was
And
very sad.
you cannot just be like, we don't need them, right? Because it was huge. It was huge. And then now with like V2 coming back and whatnot,
yeah,
um, you can see it. A lot of people are coming back into the game. Now it's not like a crazy amount of numbers, but it's way more than I thought, right? Like when I
hmm
queued up onto leaderboard on Origin, I mean on V2, I didn't even know there's like 10K players playing already. So like now we definitely can't ignore that. What are your guys' opinions on V2 coming back? Do you think like maybe it might split the player base if it is a complete different player base? How do you guys feel about V2 in general? We can start with
I
Chuck.
Yep.
sure.
Oh, sorry.
I honestly think I think it's been proven already that the player base for V2 is very different from Origins. Like the games are fundamentally different if you look at them. Like Origins plays like a traditional card game like Yu-Gi-Oh, where you draw, set up your turn, your opponent plays his turn, you go back and forth like that. While V2, I almost felt was like a little like poker. There's other better, some people say chess, but it was very like trying to predict your opponent's move, trying to find all the calculated move. So fundamentally, they were different. I feel Axie, when they made the transition, they were really worried about V2, like not even giving Origin a chance to grow. Like people would just say, like, "Oh, I'm just gonna keep playing V2." So I can see why they decided to do it this way, where they only had Origins having the money and all the prizes and stuff on that one, because it would like to would have just not allowed, people wouldn't have wanted to transition over and give it a chance at all. They would have just said, I want V2, I want V2. But doing this way, Origins did give a chance to branch out. And now I feel like since both of them have their own sort of niche now, like I feel like this is a better time to introduce V2, of course, back into the space. I'm not sure if like I've been trying to get some feedback from the team if they're actually going to develop it anymore. But I feel like they're kind of treating it a little bit like Melee and Smash. As you guys know, Melee is the original game from the old days that people really love, the mechanics and stuff. And Ultimate is right now the current version of Super Smash Brothers. So Melee hasn't been touched. Like Melee can't even be updated unless they release a new game. So I just feel like they're taking that approach to it. Do I feel like it needs to be updated more? Of course, I think V2 has a lot of key issues that I feel like keep it from really showing people skills. The crit system, I feel like when I was watching the tournament, people that are very skillful got defeated with crits, and I felt really bad for them. I always feel bad when I see crits. Like some people rejoice, like it's fun, but I feel bad for people who are actually competing, because losing to a crit can feel really, really bad. Like winning with crit can feel great, but losing to a crit, like it just feels awful. And I feel Origins gives you a more calculated way of winning. Like the person that's meant to win is going to win that one, depending on the matchup. And yeah, I just see a little bit more decisive of maybe if move crit or make it less influential, it would improve the game a little bit. But just my personal opinions on those things.
I have a hot question for Chuck. Chuck,
Mhm.
All right,
what
go
do
ahead.
you prefer? What do you prefer? Losing to a crit or losing to rock, paper, scissors?
Oh,
That's interesting. Yeah, right now a lot of the games in Origins are, especially at the high level, are dependent on what team you brought into the arena. I feel like Origins needs to introduce like something. I've been talking to some people about it. I need to introduce a system where you have alternate teams and stuff, or have a way to tech in certain things. Because right now, if you match up with a certain team, it's you're gonna lose. It's like nothing you can do. Like you can't have. What I do love the current system, because before you could make a team that could destroy every team. Like before you could make an attacking team that can kill everything, counters everything. But now, like with the introduction of certain cards, it has made it that every team has a really solid counter, but the counter is so strong that there's nothing that you can play around. So
Yeah, so we're getting there, but we're not really there, right?
we're not really there. I feel that there's more that needs to be done to specifically solve those issues right there.
Yeah,
But
and mirror
personally, I
matches
like
feel
the
dumb,
current
right?
system better than losing to a crit, because believe me, a lot of my scholars hate the crit system. They hated it. They didn't like it. They felt like they were cheated out of like SLP or whatever. And I agreed with them. It sucks. Like it sucks losing to a crit, because it's nothing you can control. Like morale doesn't really, I mean, morale affects it, but like, there's classes that shouldn't be able to crit at a certain time, and that's the end of the game, like lose and stuff.
so yeah,
Mhm.
like we already know about like the crit issues and everything like that. V2 versus Origin. What I really want to like pinpoint is, I don't know if you guys saw my tweet the other day, but let's say like our investment, our manpower went into V2, refining it. That crit thing could be easily be resolved. You just
Yeah.
simply just remove it, right?
Yeah,
And we're we
or
originally want to go to
rework it. I kind of
yeah,
like
or
Rework it.
rework it. Yeah,
rework it,
I'm just saying like anything would be
because
better,
sometimes
right?
a crit is cool, right? Not every time or every game, but
Yeah.
sometimes, like if you do the stuff to get the crit, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, hey, like, we've had 7 seasons of Origins now because we had the alpha and season 0 too. Don't forget those added on to 1 through 5
Yeah.
and everything like that. I'm just wondering, like, you guys think ever Sky Mavis just might be regretting, like, hey, maybe Origin's been out for this long and it just hasn't met our expectations? You see people even like 1437 on Twitter recently saying V2 is better for mass adoption just because of the unique gameplay similar to Marvel Snap, where it's simultaneous turns, which is easier to watch. And if anything, because like it does appeal to a broad audience, especially since we've seen it before. It reached 3 million daily active players last bull run, and isn't that the goal? Next bull run, we want our game to like blow up and be a good product and everything like that. So I'm just wondering, like, what do you guys think? Like, what are your expectations of Origins? Like 7 seasons in, almost like over a year in. I've been playing for over a year now. Do you guys kind of wish? Do you guys ever think of a world where V2 had all the tools and resources put into it?
I want to start
especially
with
coming.
this one,
Yeah, for sure.
and
go ahead.
Yeah, just my first thing I want to say, and just this is to end what Chuck said, that I think there was something interesting that he said. He said some way you can like alter what's going on when you get in a match. Do you know? Did you play Magic the Gathering, Chuck? Or do you
I
know
haven't
the
played
game?
it, no.
Well, there's this 2 versions where you play like traditional or non-traditional. Traditional, what you do is a best of 3, and you have a sideboard, right? And like you play the first game, like, oh fuck, I'm doomed. Like this is over. There's no way I win this. And when you go to the second game, you can like alter your deck with your sideboard, change some cards, and tech for the next game against this opponent. So this is like kind of the way they do this, that like, so you don't insta lose if you have, I don't know, control against aggro or whatever. So that's something to keep in mind of. I think it's interesting. Now, getting onto the topic, Spam, I think V2 is like so much potential, bro. Like V2 was so unique, and yeah, it had some fundamental issues. I think there should be changed. But like when I got into V2, right, they told us about this, like the new tourney, and I was like, okay, let's turn on V2, see what's up, right? I turn on V2. I just, when I see like the initial scene, I'm like, oh bro, my tummy, right? Like I have this butterflies. What's going on? This game. And then I go arena, right? And I enter the arena and I see like this simultaneous turn thing, right? And I'm like, bro, this game is so deep. I miss it, right? And I know that Chuck has a point when he says, like, we need to like adopt people and make a game that's not obnoxious to play. And I agree, but V2 had some of these feelings when you played, like you were lost. There was no way you won. And then you said, wait, this play can win like 1% of the time. And you played that, and then your opponent misplayed and you won. In Origins, sometimes literally I feel if I skip 3 whole turns, I still win in some matchups. Like 3 whole turns, I skip and I win. And that's like something that is so fundamentally like wrong for me right now in Origins. I really love the game, and you know what's best about Origins that V2 didn't have it is the amount of time you spend like theory crafting and in the marketplace and like and thinking about the charms and the PPs. So this Axie is perfect, but it doesn't have like 4 aqua PPs or whatever. And this experience is amazing from Origins, and I love it. But V2 had this perfect feeling where every played, every card, every turn mattered, and you couldn't push off the gas until the last turn, or you could like lose the game. And that felt amazing. So
Yeah,
as answering your question, Spam, I think it's something we should consider. Maybe not like go full on, but like at least 10% of our resources or things. Like think about it. It could be very huge. That's my feeling.
No. And I was gonna bounce off of that because guess what? You say we spend so much time theory crafting in Origins, but is it more because like the game's completely new and different, and everything's really revolved around like building a deck? Or if you think of V2, don't you think we spend hours and hours on V2 if they release like runes and charms? You have to release runes and charms, by the way. You need a burning system, and people are gonna, and then I know our burning system's not perfect, crafting system's not perfect, and everything like that.
Yeah,
I hate it, bro. Sorry.
Yeah, what else would we craft? And then sometimes I like
feels
reflect.
like poker.
Sometimes I reflect, and I think I love Origins for everyone in chat. I love it even more than V2, to be honest. even with all my critique and everything. But the thing is, sometimes I wonder, would I still like this game if I didn't have the budget that I have? My funnest part, like Rollo says, is theory crafting, testing new things. And oftentimes I'm allowed to have the flexibility to do such things. But then I know about 95% of the player base buys one team. That team caps. They have to spend and theory craft one team for the whole season. And when you're stuck with a certain team comp in Origin and you can't climb, there's never going to be, like, even though V2 matchups were polarizing, you just feel like a sitting duck in Origins. You're stuck. At a certain point, you'll never be able to express that skill or even pull out a lucky win here and there, even if it's only one out of 10
Highest
times.
fun is spending right now, which is good, but also bad.
Exactly. And also the thing about V2 and the beauty about V2 is like, oh shoot, I forgot my point, Rollo. Dang it. Oh, I had a really good one. But anyways,
yeah,
I'm curious to hear what Chuck has to say, because Chuck's always been really pro Origins. He even made fun of V2 a lot too back then. It does take skill skipping turn. I opened up V2 the other day. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to skip here or not.
Do not skip turn. Yeah.
Oh, here was the point I wanted to make. It's really freaking cool. This is not an FPS game or a mobile game where skills actually matter. It's so cool how there's skill expression in a card game, right? Like, very rarely would you see that. Most card games you play are meant around deck building and everything like that. It's really cool how you can show a form of skill in a card game. In game, Origins is like a lot of the skills outside of the game. I really want to hear your opinion on this, Chuck, because I know you're very pro Origins, like myself as well. It's been 7 seasons. You feel like it's met your expectations, surpassed it, underwhelming? How do you feel about V2 now that everyone's talking about it? Give me everything.
Yeah. I don't know. Just to answer your first question, I do not know how a world where V2 was the one that built on. Honestly, it's an issue that I've always, like, what people don't know is that me and a lot of other high-level pro players or pro players at the time of V2 were invited to try out Origins 1 year before it was actually released, and we could not say anything about it. We could not mention it. Like, if we mentioned one person got banned, like all his Axies banned because he released some screenshots of leaked screenshots. So we were put under some indirect NDA on it, even though we didn't sign an NDA, but it was very, very hush about everything. And a lot of the people had the same fundamental issue where people were wondering, why are we switching like to another completely fundamentally different game? And honestly, I wish the team, like someone on the team, could bring that up one day and explain, like, justify the reasoning for it. I know Origins does bring in burning mechanics, but a lot of people said, why can't you just add that to V2 and stuff, for mechanics like runes and charms to that? And I have no idea what happened. I have no idea why the team went into this decision of going forward with another game that was fundamentally very different from what they've been. Maybe they saw it in their analytics or something that Origins would be able to grow. I do like Origins because of what it's done, like what it's accomplished so far. I feel from its beginning, like the beginning of Origins was very rough. There was a lot of builds that were super broken, like ridiculous. But it always happens in every game. V2, like a lot of people don't realize, historically, the reason why I was winning so much in V2 was because I had a team that was really broken, and back then there wasn't as much breeding going on at the time. So I had a team that was fundamentally really strong, and they nerfed the heck out of my teams. Like, they nerfed it after the tournament, they nerfed it after season 1, and I still was able to win season 2 with a similar team that I was playing with. So I do feel like teams do evolve. B2 went into season, I believe, 2021. I forget exactly. But Origins is only in season 7. I think they've accomplished a lot, but I feel that they need to really ramp it up. Some new mechanics, something that fundamentally solves these issues that we're talking about. So for me, I always loved the idea of a card game. I grew up playing those. So that's why I was very pro Origins. I was like, oh, it's like Yu-Gi-Oh, I guess. You could just play your card games. But for me, I think it's met my expectations so far. I do feel like it could be better. And I know the team's trying to work hard on that. They hear all the feedback of the community, I feel. And it's rough to implement. I have no idea how many developers they have, honestly. But I feel like like we want more. The community wants more out of it. We want more out of it, and I don't know if it's what's possible realistically for this team sometimes. So I don't know. Like I said, I fundamentally don't know what was going through that transition moment. And honestly, I feel like if we have an AxieCon 2, there should be a panel that talks about it. I feel like it would be a great like insight for a lot of us.
Yeah, I was honestly, there's like little rumors out there that Chuck's a Sky Mavis employee, so I was hoping he'd tell us the answer. That's what I was trying to dig out. Yeah, I'm kidding, but yeah, like I said, those are all really, really good points.
From my understanding, Spam, maybe you have the same. From my understanding, it had to do with the coding perspective. Like the game couldn't escalate more than it had. Like
couldn't
at that
scale,
point.
yeah.
That's my understanding. Like this is completely untrue. I don't know if this is true. It's just my understanding.
Yeah, but anyways, I'm just going to focus on, the bull run is going to happen sometime soon. Maybe it might take a year, maybe it might take 2 years. I just want the best product of Axie available by the time that happens. And
+1.
Honestly, if it had to come down to it, and they really had a really stern meeting, and they said, hey, you know what? A game V2's play style is gonna be better for mass adaption and everything like that, just because it appeals more with unique gameplay, et cetera, et cetera. I would not be mad at them for going back on their word, saying, hey, we tried it, we gave it our all. Let's just reinvest back in. I wouldn't be mad. Some people might be salty.
At this point, I agree with you too. Like if we decided at this point we need to reprogram V2, but making a game ground, because they wouldn't want to build it on top of current V2. It'd have to be a complete rework. So that's why I feel like they're avoiding it. Like I feel like the coding of it wasn't that great. You guys know, Trung and the original developers of Axie Infinity are not game developers. They were not game developers when they started the game. They introduced the game for us to play. Like V1 was their first trial. Then they made V2, but fundamentally they don't have the experience from the start to make a game, like a game company that actually made for it. And we could see that, like Wild Forest, I played it the other day. You could tell the company has worked on games before. But what Trung did have was he's really good at coding, like the contracts and stuff like that. That was a really strength of him. So I could see why V2, probably the coding isn't the best to work on top of. But that's what I feel like they're avoiding to redoing V2s, because it's going to be a huge project to take on, to restart it all. And maybe for them, it's going to be too much to do it.
Not enough manpower to continue Origins while doing that.
But I have no idea.
I actually had no clue it's in the coding and stuff like that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, like if you have really goofy coding, like it really adds in a lot of like tech. I forget what someone told me. It's called like tech something. Like tech costs. Your tech costs go a lot higher if the coding fundamentally wasn't made correctly. Then you try to update one thing and then everything breaks around it, because adding new things will break everything. So if your coding isn't developed right, it just will cause so much issues. And I feel that's the issue they had with V2. Kind of like Ralo's implying. I have not confirmed that, but just from sort of understanding coding a little bit, it is something that I could see them having an issue with, that they built it really fast to appease the people of V2 or early gamers. But as they wanted to add new things, they were like, oh, darn, our code kind of sucks. So now what do we do? Like the Ronin contract and all that stuff is solid, but the coding for the actual game was probably a little goofy, I feel.
Yeah, from the outside, it's not always as easy as it looks. That's why maybe we can't just like toss V2 into the Origin client, or we can't do Axie Draft out of nowhere, or maybe they might not even give like our ideas of wanting Axie Draft or wanting V2 attention, just because the manpower is just not enough. And it'll take like a
I have no idea,
et cetera, et cetera.
I have no idea how much money and time it would take to remake a game. Like it just, I have no idea.
It might be.
It sounds expensive.
Maybe even impossible.
Sounds expensive.
Yeah.
We might be, if they do decide that, we might be in for like a 1 year off season, bro. Like something crazy.
No, bro. I'm out. No more.
Okay, I'm out. You know what? Let's work on Origins. All right. So speaking of Origins, we're gonna go on to our next topic, and it's about game balancing. All right. So me and Rollo already kind of talked about this with Theban.
Yeah.
We have positive sentiment. Like, I think, like, this season's been really, really balanced. Even when the community complains about, oh, Leafy's really OP, was guess what? Leafy didn't even get top 10 in like Epic era, if I'm not mistaken. Things like that. But I see you, Chuck, very, very outspoken on Twitter when it comes to game balancing. Sometimes it seems like you're taking some shots at them. You're saying, who's even playing the game? I say that sometimes too.
I'm surprised that I haven't gotten a message about that, honestly.
Yeah.
But I do like want to point out some of their issues. Like, I got really like season 4. A lot of you guys know, I decided to check it out. Like, I was like, they didn't nerf Topaz that comp enough for other teams to grow. Like, it was just such an efficient and fast team that I thought it was a joke, the balance they did for that. Like, and I was like, why play the game if Topaz is just so dominant or whatever? And it didn't end up winning the season. I think a sustain build ended up winning the season, but
Correct.
I just was so out of it. Like, I was like, Topaz is just the way to go, and I don't want to play Topaz. So, but like this season, they addressed it. They balanced it a little bit more. I think it helped a lot of builds grow, because a lot of these slow builds wouldn't have existed if Topaz was still the same way. But I agree. I tend to agree with you guys when I was watching your podcast, that the game feels a lot more balanced. Like, even sustains have a really solid counter. If you guys don't know, Rise and Ruin right now is definitely hitting sustain teams really hard. I know that sometimes it's an automatic loss for a sustain team playing against a Rise and Ruin. Like, I look at all the sustain teams on Axie.io or whatever and seeing the leaderboard. Sustains always auto lose to that Rise and Ruin. Does that mean Rise and Ruin is a little bit too strong? I have a feeling it might be, but fundamentally it is the strong counter to sustain. Like, you literally build up your little stuff and then like just insta kill them at the end, near the end of the game. I do feel, playing as a sustain player, that sustain itself needs a nerf. I feel like it's a gameplay that's very passive. It's fun for the person playing it, believe me. Playing sustain is fun for me because I could just set up cards, watch like TV for a little bit, and then go back to it. But I do feel like there needs to be more involvement for the sustain player, so it's not just so passive. I do feel like they can't over nerf, or else you nerf like half the cards in the game. Like, the whole point that people even buy charms for armor is because it works with the specific rune and stuff. And I do feel like, I don't know how they balance sustain, but they need to do something. I definitely agree with everyone on Twitter who's saying that you shouldn't be able to win just because you have more HP than the other team. That should go away. I think that's like the worst mechanic. I don't know why they haven't nerfed that, but you should have a win condition. That's not, oh, I had one more HP than you, I win, or whatever. It's just frustrating for anyone playing against them. But if they beat you with an actual combo or pure damage or some form of damage system, but they also should add more win conditions for sustain if they remove it, because a lot of people's
Like
decks will
overheal,
be fried.
right?
Hmm?
Like overheal, like something
That's
more
the
reactive.
new
Overheal,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
rune that you heal, and if you overheal, you deal damage. So it's
Yeah, I
something
haven't
that
seen.
goes
Yeah.
with the game plan. Yeah, you haven't seen it, but basically, you if you overheal your max HP, the amount you overheal, you deal total damage to a random Axie. So what I'm trying to say is, without changing the control-y plan or control-ish plan,
Yeah.
you do something reactive or active,
Mhm.
right? Not just skipping or whatever.
Yeah. It is going to be interesting what they do, because I feel like you've seen Jiho talk about it, that his worst team that he faces is sustain. So I feel he's hinting at sustain getting nerfed next season. I don't know what he's going to do. I feel bad because I own a lot of sustain Axies, but if it fundamentally will help the game, then I'm for it. I'm for whatever helps the game, actually.
I
feel
want to say
snapping-
something.
Yeah.
I want to say something.
Fine, go.
Guys,
Oh, I got
if you
something.
nerf sustain, which I agree on, please rework it to a control version. Okay, we need control. Don't kill control, because this game is going to suck. Just if you want to kill sustain, rework it to a control-y version where you apply weak and everything deals little damage, and then whatever, right? Imagine it in Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone or Yu-Gi-Oh as an AoE, where you clear cards and you remove stuff from the game, but don't kill control because we need it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have a hot take. All right, so everyone's complaining about sustain. Like even Geos was in my stream like 2 days ago, and he saw me raging at sustain. It was just not like fair. I see even the champion 1437 like really
He
against
hates
it, really
sustain,
vocal
yeah.
about it. Yeah. See, for me personally, I like it, and I'm in the whole boat of like every card game I've ever played. There's been things more toxic than Blood Moon, more toxic than being turn 1 or turn 2 and winning through HP and stuff like that. And no matter what you do with sustain, it's always gonna be one of the most hated comps for majority of the community.
Yeah.
No matter what. Like, okay, like let's say Rollo said, okay, let's apply weak and everything like that. Then instead of us bitching about like, oh, that's just way too much shield for one energy, we're gonna be like, what the freak? I mean, yeah, like like, oh, we can't do any damage to them at all because we're weakened and things like that. Personally, there's always gonna control / sustain. That archetype's always gonna exist in card games. They'll always find a way to make it
Everyone
work and
always
everything
hates
like
it
that.
in every game.
And I think it's important for games. I personally hate it. You guys see me on stream. I literally want to punch a monitor every time I face it sometimes. But I do think it's needed in the game because if it didn't exist, I'd be even more mad about losing games to coin flips, turn 1 versus turn 2 in a mirror. If I played mirror matches every round of an aggro comp and whatnot. So yeah, I'm not super anti-sustain, mainly because I don't even have a solution for it. If I had a solution to make the archetype still good and everything, I'd be more vocal and I'd be like, yeah, I hate this current version of sustain. But either way, I just know season 10, I'm still going to be punching a monitor when I face a sustain type of comp, control type of comp. It doesn't matter what their win condition is, okay? Yeah, it's BS right now. That is win condition is, oh yeah, turn 1 pursuit, and then I have more HP, then I toss one card and you're dead. But man, it's always going to exist, bro. And Rollo, you played plenty of card games before. Tell me I'm not lying. There's way more toxic thing in other card games than this Blood Moon stuff.
This is true. Actually, Hearthstone for me was ruined because of the amount of RNG you could get. Like you could lose games at a discover, which is a mechanic that gets 3 random cards, and then you got a card with discover, and that discover got. It was like, what the fuck am I losing to? It's like this is not. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I agree with you, but sustain feels like shit when you lose it. You lose to. Also, for sustain players out there, it's stupid that you lose to RPS. Like, please, like, hey, I'll love you. You're doing a great job, but please fix the RPS issue with mirror matches with sustain. It's stupid. I played the era I won. Remember, rare era. I played before I started the next era. Sorry, I played the Hotbutt. Sorry, Hotbutt. When you face Hotbutt against Hotbutt, is Rise and Ruin Mirror. Rise and Ruin Mirror wins whoever goes first. Yep. So basically, we had 30% of the leaderboard playing RPS. It was not even Axie. They were playing RPS, bro.
I'm gonna touch up on that. There was recently a very big argument. I will just be very transparent about it. I was so mad one day at RPS. I went on Discord and I tagged Hale and I said, "Who is in charge of turn 1 versus turn 2? Give me their contact. Let me talk to them." I was fuming, bro. And he starts disputing back, clapping back with stats. He's like, yeah, 47% versus 52%. This is balance. Okay, I don't care about numbers. I don't care about balance. I don't care about anything like that. Like, okay, it's not even just one archetype like aggro. It affected sustained matchups. It affected aggro matchups because, you get the extra energy as turn 2. And it just doesn't feel right. Like, I understand the numbers are balanced, but that's also a lot of other things.
Numbers are just numbers because you don't know where that numbers are coming from. Like sometimes there are games that people misplay and the numbers are dead.
Stats can be skewed.
Yeah,
exactly. And then so like things like that make me like heated and make me want to talk like Chuck and say, who's playing this game? Like you play 5 games of this, things like that. Things like Rise and Rune. Oh, I'm so sorry. I might be a little worked up because I don't know if you guys are watching my stream prior to this podcast. Rise and Rune, like the game balancing everything. Oh, it's so.
The name is actually funny because it's a ruin of the meta. It's actually ruining the meta.
It's so strong. I just had one point about that. Dang it. One of the teams that I do like, I've talked to Hale about this, and a lot of people have different feelings. But when I looked at the team that 1437 actually lost to, a lot of them were the new Navaga, like infinite, almost infinite draw kind of teams. And I know like Hale himself likes that kind of like combo, but something about that combo seems just strong. Like it just like boom, 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 just infinite amount of pumpkin draw. Like I honestly felt like Pumpkin needed to have a limitation to the amount of draw it does, like ability to draw it into itself. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I
I,
honestly like losing
I'm
to
gonna be
that,
honest.
but you know,
I know it's obnoxious to lose to that, but what I
yeah.
like about it, and let me like trying to stay my point, is that first of all, you need like to set up your plan. Like Nevaga is like, okay, I'm gonna get 25 fragments. If you do nothing until that time, I'm gonna win, kind of thing. And I kind of like those type of teams because bubbles is basically the same. It's like I'm gonna get 15 bubbles. If you do
Mhm.
nothing, you're dead.
Mhm.
Um, uh, and what I really like about the archetype is that it's like a similar thing to sustain, whereas you lose some matchups that sustain would win, but you win
Mhm.
against sustain the mirror. So that kind of thing I like a similar version that wins the mirror but loses to other matchups. I do
Mhm.
think that sometimes is obnoxious to lose. Like I just surrender. If they get the 25 fragments, they clean their deck, it's just surrender. But usually what I do is just I play an archetype that wins against those obnoxious team. So I don't like I don't
Mhm.
feel like I
Yeah.
don't know, like the
Yeah.
game is shit.
Yeah. To me, it feels
But
like
yeah.
if they were gonna balance, I just feel it gets to that 25 turns too fast, which is doesn't give your opponent enough time to do anything to stop it. But that's just my opinion. Like I said, I'm not sure if they're gonna do anything to it. And there's another version with one of two starters. I think
Yeah,
Spamandrice
that's
brought it
fucking
up.
stupid.
That
Yeah.
was ridiculous. I never seen that before. But
I
talking
like
with
those. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
yeah,
sorry, sorry.
talking with them, they don't seem like they see it as a problem. So I'm just gonna be like, okay, seems like it has an easy counter to it.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty
yeah, I
easy
was
to
like,
counter
No, no,
it.
it's
Yeah.
pretty easy
yeah,
to counter. That's why I have no problem with these because like that's like kind of the goal of sustain that I want the game to head towards, where they're set up right to something cool,
yeah,
and you still have a chance to beat them early game. And there are counters even when they hit their setup. Like sometimes you can bleed them and et cetera, et
yeah.
cetera. Yeah. And then last topic, I want to talk about game balance. And I keep remembering reading this tweet by Chuck and how he says, do they even like play their game? Like you could just play 5 games and know that this is broken, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of us, like not even pro players, even a casual player, and this is a genuine question I have for you guys, can read a rune, charm, or a card and instantly say, hey, this is underwhelming, or hey, this is very, very overtuned just by reading it, right? Do game developers and stuff do this on purpose for like economic purposes or future meta
Mm,
shifts to keep things interesting? Or is it literally just like lack of insight or not having? Yeah, I don't know. Is this on purpose? Because like I can read Rise and Rune and I can
mhm.
be like, that. Oh no, that doesn't make sense. You have a free zero cost the whole game, even when that Axie dies. You keep every one of those god hands, even when the Axie dies. It's just very overtuned, and you make it an epic, right? And then you read
Mhm.
runes like um Raven's Tactic. I don't even know what Raven's Tactic does in Mystic because I read it the other day and it was so bad I didn't even put 1 second of thought into it. Do they do this on purpose for future, like to make things spicy? Like, oh, okay, next season we're gonna make that OP, or like what's going on behind like game design and game development? Do you guys know anything about that?
Well, something I have to say is that having something OP is good if it
Yes.
lasts only for a season, right? So I know
Yeah.
this might sound outrageous for you guys out there, but
Mhm.
it's actually good. You like it happens in every game. You can go
Yeah.
to league, like when a champion gets out, it's fucking
So
OP.
OP.
Everyone
Yeah.
buys it, everyone plays it. It gets nerfs, it gets nerfed until it's balanced, and that is gonna happen. It's fine. Like I
Yeah.
don't mind that, but sometimes it's like just too much, bro. Like Rise and Ruin,
Yeah.
like it's one of those things you just read it and it's like this shit is broken, right? It's the same with Soul Leader. It's like no one's gonna play this shit, bro. And I hope there's not like a crazy build out there that I'm ignoring, but like
I
you know what
actually
I
want to
mean. There's
play
some
it, but yeah.
I want to. I tried everything, Chuck. Like, and I tried last season as well. But what I mean
Mhm.
is, like, sometimes there's some stuff that are just when you read it, are just too OP or too like bad. I don't know.
Underwhelming,
That's
yeah.
my take.
Yeah, what I'm wondering is like, isn't it better for the economy? Like, you could read Soul Eater or Raven's Tactic or Feather Sense, and you could be like, hey, buff birds. And it doesn't have to be in the meta, but it has to be good enough to drive marketplace activity, make people interested in buying birds or breeding birds. Like, I'm just so like mind blown sometimes of why we can't just read the card and just say, hey, this needs help. And why they can't do that. But it must be something about and they must have a master plan. I swear, they're probably 200 IQ, and it's probably better this way to make more money next meta, keep the game interesting.
Let's hope.
I don't know.
Let's hope.
We can't like just buff everything every season. But I just thought,
Yeah, no, I agree. I was a little frustrated by the changes, but I see Rallo's point. Like, I honestly have started to think that maybe fundamentally that's what they are doing. Like, a lot of the starters that came in, some of them were really, really strong for the rare era. Almost the problem here in Axie is, like, you talk about League, right? In League, you every hero or character is free. You're being given to it. But I know people were preparing for rare era, bought Axies, like theory crafted and everything, and suddenly Momo comes out, like blasts everyone down, and like it ruined all people's like ideas and stuff. It was almost unfair. So I've strongly told the team, if you're gonna release these starter Axies, we need to have a chance to play with them a little bit, just to see. Even though I'm sure their whole thing was like, let's surprise them with these starter Axies. Unfortunately, they were so strong, some of them, that it literally destroyed people's rare investment or the money they made and or put into their Axies, because almost killed everyone. Like, it was just ridiculous. So they did fix it right after an Epic era, but by Epic era, everything changes as well. The meta changes, of course, with rare era.
I understand doing that in like games like League of Legends, Valorant. You make something OP and it sells. But the thing is, this is a free Axie. How do we make money off of this? Like, they can't capitalize on it.
You do cause like shifts in buying, because a lot of people did end up buying a lot of the defenses. Okay. Like the Axies were defending it basically.
Yeah, but communication was not there. Like, you can read a League patch and it's perfect, right? You have the whole thing.
These were just dropped on us.
+2, -2. We did this because of this. Like, and this was a point I brought up 2 seasons ago. We need a balance patch where
that'd be good. Yeah.
We read why are things changed and why is that approach. Like Rise and Ruin -10 damage. We took this approach because we saw in blah blah blee. This would like make the community feel so much heard. Like, so what's the wording? Like,
that would make me so
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
the community will love that.
I think that's a very easy critique. And I think they would explore that for
Esport advisor, Jiho, if you need one. Rallo.
I mean, Hell explains like everything really well of why something's balanced. So like maybe
he does, but privately.
He could do that. He does it publicly sometimes too. Maybe like someone like him can do that kind of role and communicate with nerds.
Yeah, but I don't think we need, and I love Hale, but I don't think we need a profile like Hale. I think we need a more communicative profile with less stats, easier to understand. Like, no, I love Hale. I think he should be the master plan, right? But I think he needs someone to communicate that with like nice numbers and like infographies and images and like things that are easier to understand and not as obnoxious. Like, no, turn 2 and turn 1 is balanced because I have 17,000 games with this stats. It's like that doesn't serve it.
And first of all, shout out to Hell, because guess what, guys? He's just the guy taking most of the heat. He takes most of the heat.
Yeah,
because behind him, there's also like 10, 20 other people, right? But he's the one that has to be outspoken. He's a community part.
And I talk a lot of us. Hell. He knows.
Yeah, a lot of us we direct a lot of criticism and stuff towards him, but don't forget, it's just not him, like, doing.
And really what people don't realize is Hale doesn't even make the final decisions on these things.
No,
there's a balance team that makes these decisions, and Hale just tries to explain what their logic was for it or thought process was.
Because we don't know who the faces are. We just have to like take it out on someone.
Take it out on Hale. Shout out to Hale, the public figure.
Yeah, one of the hardest jobs, and But anyways,
he has really thick skin. He has skin for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I met him in person. We had lunch together. I gave him critique right to his face, and he goes, Nah, you stupid spam. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But cool guy.
No,
Anyways,
also like just to go to the next point, like I think this thing, like doing this like infography and whatever, would help Hale a lot. Like he would receive a lot less hate. People would have like a lot less hate like on Twitter because things would be explained. So I think this is something they should consider. Really, it's
I'm
not that much work.
I'm gonna bring on Hale next podcast.
Yeah,
Anyways,
that's
wait.
good.
Just
I
a
would
quick
love
topic
that. Yeah.
before I go on to. I usually don't reach. I usually don't do Q&A till later. But someone says, "Isn't town hall why they do that?" The thing is, town hall's not accessible to everyone. You see, 300, 500 people join town hall, but we are a player base of 40,000 or 50,000.
And
whatever.
only like 3 or 4 people speak out, right? Because they
and most people in Southeast Asian countries I went to don't even have Discord. They use literally.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, they use like Facebook for communication and everything like that.
Yeah,
or just the Axie
Facebook is
Infinity
very
website.
popular.
All right. Anyways, on to our next topic. We're going to be talking about runes and charms. This is a very interesting topic because now we kind of saw how it's played out in 2 eras. We've seen the prices of Mystic, just things in general, like the free runes and charms. They're removing it. Did it do good for the economy? What do you guys think about it? And we'll let Rollo start off on this because this is something he wanted to debate about.
Yeah. I personally think taking the free rune is shit. Not for me because I can afford it.
Yeah, of course.
I couldn't go into a marketplace and pay it, but I have a lot of viewership that like used to be like, yo, Ralo, I don't know, I have Last Stand, like, and I have these couple Axies. What can we do? And there was stuff to do, right? It's like, yeah, buy 2 Axies and just play this epic rune and whatever. And so it could be more affordable to be someone or play at a higher level. And right now it feels like, yeah, you want to play Topaz? Yeah, no worries, $250. Oh, you want to play Poison? Yeah, no worries, $400. So I don't really like this way because, for example, if you want to play at a cheaper level but still rank high with a free rune, you could be smart. You could wait till the moment that the rune would like settle the price in, and then you knew which rune was expensive, and then you changed that rune for the free one, and then you bought the other 2. Or you could exchange it right away just to go up really fast and then try to have a slow decline, right? So it's I think it was interesting. It was accessible. So what I really dislike about them removing it is that it feels like they're going into 3 separate directions, right? First, they removed 25% of the pro or competitive, not even the pro, is top 20K. So everyone, they removed 25% to redistribute, right? So I'm thinking, okay, this is for mass adoption. And then they remove the free rune. And I'm like, wait, this is not for mass adoption. So where are they going with this, right? And so I'm kind of worried sometimes the decisions are not on the same like train of thought. And that worries me. But yeah, I don't really like the rune, non-free rune, and then giving out a free rune if you play the event. It feels bad for me. I don't really like that kind of thing, but I don't get affected. My community does.
Yeah. How about you?
So yeah.
Honestly, like kind of like Rollo said, and I had the same thought as him. Like I was very for them redistributing some of that AXX towards maybe not the top whatever, to anyone in the community that's playing it, incentivizes it. My issue with that was they'd only happen one time in the start of Rare Era or something like that, and then never ever got released again for any of the other eras. So I feel like they need to work on that system.
The number was really high as well. Like
they need to look through that, look at the feedback, and analyze how that could have been better. But I do agree with Rollo that they try to do that part of it, but then right after they said like no more free runes, which is anti-growth, I feel, of the meta. So it is a little bit. It almost seems like 2 teams had different ideas at the same time, and it just all like went into a jumbled mess.
Yeah, and they went like, "Wait, I want my idea," and he was like, "I want my idea." Well, let's do both. Right?
Let's do both. Like, let's just do everything. Like, no, but I do agree with you, and I actually brought that up to the team. I won't say specifically who, but I did bring it up. Like, it just doesn't seem to be conducive to growth to remove the free rune. But they sort of like were saying like we're doing this to incentivize crafting and all this stuff and maybe growing. But I see the runes and charm market has completely collapsed. Like all the runes and charms are very cheap from what I can tell. Like, and maybe that's what they were going for. But it is I don't know if it worked out the way they were thinking, and maybe next season we'll see an adjustment for all this stuff, including like the top percent, how much they remove from the top percent number. They're going to work on some sort of adjustment on these things to really reach their goals. If their goal is growth, then they all should be united in that idea, not all have their own ideas or whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I personally didn't like the free rune getting removed either. I see its value for people who are playing more casually. And if they want the game to grow, they need to allow them to have one rune at least. I mean, I wasn't affected this season at all because I had Mystic Axie and they gave me free runes for every single era. I don't know if that's OP or not, but Mystic Axies are very expensive. So I can kind of see what they were going for. But I do feel like the free rune really mattered to the community, and it's something that they should really think about if it was the right move. And hopefully next season we get a better method of getting a free rune if it's possible. Maybe they don't want it to be super easy to get the free rune, but it should be attainable in some way. You should be able to grind for it, kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I like if you grind for it, you feel like you earned it. But we'll see. We'll definitely see what happens. I think it's feedback that I will probably bring back again to the team, and hopefully next season it could be a little better.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. I
so
agree with Chuck.
I'm what's it called? I'm not too critical about this because they did say this is an experiment. It can revert back. We did see like Mystic runes last season. I'm like $20 for this OP thing. Like it's so cheap, so free. Like there's no point in crafting anymore and whatnot. And although this season things were still cheap in Epic and Rare Era, you guys can see Mystic. It's kind of a little pricier than what I remember. So maybe it's doing good.
But also because the rewards are lower, right?
Yes.
So
yes,
as I
yes.
told you, like I want to buy
Very
3 poison axes with the 3 runes and like the poison
Mhm.
charms and
Yeah.
stuff. I think it's $400-500. And in Mystic Era, to get $500, you need to be, I don't know what, like top 15, right? Yeah, top 15 basically. And that's like just to get like nothing. It's like you go with $0. You invest 500, you get the $500, and you have to
Yeah.
be top 15. It's a lot of work to be top 15. So
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really
I think
hard.
I think like this needs to be a little adjustment
No.
there, because I
I
don't know.
agree. Don't get me wrong. I don't like the removal either because like I'm a streamer. It feels bad the first 3 days I can't play anything because I queue up into ladder with my previous era comp and just get steamrolled, right, by someone who got lucky. It doesn't feel good, but at the same time, like I said, I won't be too critical on it. I do agree with Chuck. Nothing should be like free because in games it should always be like either pay to speed up that process or you grind for it. So maybe like during off season they can do like top 1,000 players get a epic rune or a mystic rune. You have to make it big, right? Because otherwise it's going to be even more pay to win. You pay win off season, get top 10 and get a mystic rune. No, make it accessible for a lot of players. Like maybe even top 5,000. Make everyone play the game during off season. It makes off season activity enjoyable. At least I know top 5,000 is really easy to reach, but at least they have to do something for it. That might not be the solution. Just tossing whatever first thing.
But yeah, it would at least encourage people playing. They want to see numbers. They want to see more games played. That's how you do it. Like you make them have to play the game. Like I said, it is something that they should, if they're like, they need to think about their goals. Like what are their goals, and they need to all focus on those goals, not try to go all their own ways or whatever. Because it just creates a weird situation for us trying to explain it to our communities how this is like I'm supposed to be pro community, but how can I be supporting them getting rid of the free runes? It doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah.
All right, and then finally, we've been here for like an hour and a half. We're gonna dive into our last topic before the Q&A, okay, guys? And this is one I'm very interested in hearing about because I think you guys are on two sides of the coin for this. It's gonna be about the AXS distribution and whether it should be going towards like competitive events like tournaments or these fun casual events like these summer Axie grinding events or these random chests and all this kind of stuff. And And before we go into this, I don't want no easy answers like, hey, we have so much access, let's just give it all to everyone. I mean, like, let's fill all aspects. Let's just talk about like a fair and balanced way. Let's say they did want to hold back on just like releasing tons of access. Yeah, where this would head to. So what are your guys' opinions? Because I see some people even hate the new events, or like, what, I have to buy a summer Axie to grind for this, or too much
Yeah, yeah.
access is being distributed. Yeah, let's start off with Rollo.
Can we start with Chuck? I don't want to be
Okay,
too
we'll
hateful,
start with
but
Chuck because we know Rollo wants to put in the esports
Yeah.
scene. He understands everything, and we know Chuck, coming from someone that doesn't play tournaments, right?
Mhm.
Are you happy with these events? Like, yeah,
Um,
you take it away. You know what I'm talking about.
yeah. The events, I really haven't participated in any of them. Like, I didn't really like them set up this season. Like, it was just a little odd for me. But yeah, I was not really for them. I was the one I did like was the fortune chest event. Like, I actually enjoyed that one because I liked opening. It was very gotcha mechanics. Like, I like being able to win a game and possibly getting a treasure chest. I thought that was brilliant. I love those kind of games. And some people got really crazy stuff. Some people didn't get that. I didn't roll anything good, honestly. But I enjoyed, like, there's just something about gotcha that gets so good. Like, I enjoy that kind of mechanic. So that was the only event I liked. But in general, I just feel like it's just a weird situation right now we have in the game with like esports. Like, I'm very concerned with the distribution of AXX going into esports and how it's actually affecting everything. Esports right now seems like it's in a weird spot. Ever since Ziori and I believe Stewart departed from the project, esports has been left in a really weird situation where I don't even know if there's going to be any tournaments coming up, because it almost seems like people on Twitter are posting up like sign up for the esports grant or whatever. Like, it's such a hands off approach to everything that I have no idea what's going on. Like, I think there's someone involved managing it, but I am really concerned for it because even though I didn't really like esports as far as like all these random tournaments going on and none of them really mattering, it's been really concerning to me this season that this new grant that they released, that they're sort of like hiding it under like a thread, like it was just there kind of thing. They have to retweet it for people to even know, but it almost seems like Axie has taken a really step back to esports, but which is, I know, is a place where I feel AXX should be distributed to, so like pro players can actually show their skill and stuff. It makes me feel like I'm not sure if this is the team's thinking, that they're not seeing esports as really accomplishing the goals that they wanted to. Esports is supposed to, grow the community, grow the viewership, grow all this stuff, and I feel like they didn't see that, so they're taking a step back. Of course, I can't speak for the team, but that's what I felt like was happening, and I'm not sure what's going to go happen going forward. But to me, esports seems like it's dying heavily this going forward, and I'm not sure if it's a good or bad thing. I don't think it's a good thing personally, because they should make some tournaments that are like these tournaments you need to enter in to qualify for a big tournament. I've always agreed with the circuit kind of thing, but they never seem to implement that. I don't know what's going on. I really wish someone would explain it to us.
Yo, you're not only the people's champ, you're the pros champ now,
No.
Chuck. Man of the voice of the pros too, baby. Rollo, you want me to go first, or you want to go on this?
um,
You can give
you
it a
know,
little more
this
time to
this
cook. Are you simmering now?
no this topic is, it gets me a little emotional, right? I don't want to be
Mhm.
a whiny, crying little baby, but I don't know, man. This game is my life. This game is my life. I spend every second, every hour, every minute, and I feel it's. I know we're not the biggest part of the community, maybe, but we are a part, and I
Mhm.
think an important part. And I feel like they don't care about us. I'm just gonna be honest. I feel they don't care about us, and I want to say this, and I'll try to be completely respectful. I think that post two, that is handling esports right now is not doing the best job. I don't know, or that's my feeling, because I don't feel that he represents me at all. At all.
Mm.
I feel like he posts meme tournaments that have absolutely no sense. And I
Yeah.
understand if you do that through a Discord DM, bro. But I'm crying like at night thinking I might lose my job. And this guy's that is responsible for the esports scene
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
posting meme tournaments. And then you're taking 25% of everyone's winning to give it away. Okay, Chuck,
Yeah.
I can even understand that. But
Hmm.
you give away 100 access like to a lucky guy, and then I spend like, I don't know, $600 and 2 weeks of my time, and I get, if I don't get top one, what I get $200. So I get more than one guy for playing one game with, he can even win it with one Axie, right?
Hmm.
So I I really felt left out this season as a community. I know we're, as Pam said, we're not the biggest part. I feel we should be valued. Maybe not as we were valued before. Okay, I can understand that, but I feel like people are like Sky Mavis right now is like, yeah, these guys provide no value to us, so we'll try to focus on something else. Post two try to handle this guys, and he's doing a bad job at it. So we feel like shit. Like I feel like I have to get a Web 2 job. I don't know, and or create content, and it kind
Yeah.
of sucks because I think that I provide high value to the ecosystem. I'm humbly, I think I provide value, so I would like to continue providing value. And my guild, which is Sura, and I will be always thankful to them for them hiring me, has 30 employees, and their main game is Axie Infinity. And
Mm.
if you kill the competitive scene, Sura will probably leave Axie Infinity. And I don't think this is good for the game, 100%. So, as a whole, what I think is, I think they're leaving esports too much out of this, of the whole panorama thing. And as
Mm.
Steven said on the last podcast, I think they need urgently an esport community advisor. So, someone that
Yeah.
uh, handles the community and the esport, and what are the community feeling, and what should we do. No, this is too harsh. And then of course the team can make the decisions they want, but at least they
Yeah.
hear from someone, yo, if you do this, this will probably happen, or watch out, why don't you try to do it this way. And this is where I'm leaving it. I don't want to be disrespectful towards no one's job. I know that Postu maybe handles other stuff mainly, and now
Yeah.
this is like his job right now. But I think that we need to address this right now. Obviously, because I'm biased, this is my job. But I think there are a
Yeah.
lot of players out there which like have a similar feeling. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
me and
No.
Rollo
That.
actually had
Oh,
you mind if I
can I
go?
just
No, you go
quickly
ahead.
jump
Yep, yep,
into that one?
yep, yep.
I do, like, for me, I didn't really feel as bad of the 22% distribution, because to me, I've always felt Arena's very casual. It's always casual in other games. Like, you just join it, rank up, the rankings provide you those incentives to get monetized. You monetize your skill, you monetize your stuff. But when I started seeing that in conjunction with current situation with the tournaments, how they're being played out, it did make me for the first time say, like, ooh, maybe those two things happening at the same time is a really bad thing for the game. And I do agree. I don't personally know Pazu, but he's sort of acting like me, but he's in a role that is supposed to be defending and protecting the esports integrity and everything like that. And I feel like it's just clashing with his community. His community should be the pro players. It should be like narrative, growing their backstory, making pro players awesome. But I just don't see that happening. It almost seems like some of the ideas that he posted up, I was like, what are these ideas? Like, you're you're burning axes, you're doing this and that. And I'm like, why is it so unserious? Like, why is there no actual, like, straight tournament? Like, this is what we're gonna do, this is how we're gonna get, this is the Axe Classic, this is this. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me what's going on. Like, and like I said, it's not to criticize his job, but I do feel like he shouldn't be acting like me. Like I can troll around. You know, I'm not an official member of the Axie team at all. And I joke around a lot. But it just seems like so disconnected. And it's something that like I personally would actually like to talk to Jiho about and stuff. Because I do feel like it needs to be addressed because I want to care about watching. Like if there's 4 tournaments a year, I want to know which ones matter. Before the issue was there was too many tournaments. There was too many things going on. We know what mattered. Everything seemed like irrelevant. But if we actually had some tournaments like, oh, this is like specifically an important tournament, this will be an important tournament, I think more people would actually care. Like right now, it just doesn't seem that way. And I feel like citing something from I think Axie Faction or Ryan, I think it's Ryan. He's saying that a lot of esports teams are struggling right now. And it's true. Like right now we're in the middle of a weird situation in the economy. USA, I can't speak for other countries, but USA is in a lot of fear of recession, and it causes sponsors to drop out, like to retain their money, to be more holding of their money, which hurts esports because esports helps like grows based off of their sponsorship, the money that they have coming in. And I just feel like we're being affected, of course, by that. But I feel the way that the pro tournaments are being handled right now is a little bit bad. Even if we could say everything's down because of the bear market. But I feel like there should be more attention to detail in the pro tournaments. I feel like I honestly felt a little bad because of what's happening.
Man, dude, I just gained like a whole level of new respect for you, bro. I did not expect that. That's dope, man. That means a lot to us. So my biggest like issue about this, and I've kind of talked about it with Rollo off stream, and at first I was just like, what are esports goals? It's supposed to bring in like, hype, and it's supposed to encourage people to buy Axies or they watch a tournament, they want to play, this meta, et cetera, et cetera. That's the goal of esports, bringing sponsorships and everything like that. And I feel like Axie came off really strong right off the bat with that good energy. And they're just like, hey, you know what? We take our esports team very seriously. Look how many tournaments we're going to be releasing. Look at all these grants that we're going to be putting out and everything like that. And it really, really led us to believe that, esports is always going to be a core part of this ecosystem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then so for us to believe that, for guilds to invest into players, signing up for 1-year contracts, bringing in sponsors and locking them in because they're like, hey, we're going to promote you during this tournament. Just for all of a sudden, for it to like, it feels like it vanished. It feels like esports vanished. And I know it just might be like a little 1-season break, but like, it really, really does feel like it's vanished. And at first I understood their perspective. It's just like, yo, we just showed out so much. And like, we didn't get viewership in return. It didn't move the market like we expected, et cetera, et cetera. But it still felt like you cared about esports. And Rawl's not even asking for, another $2 million grant. He says, fine, even if you don't value us as much as, you thought it would be, how about like you tune it down? We're not asking for much. There was a time where we were playing tournaments. I remember me, Meat Value, and Nutella. We grinded 16 hours straight just to win $600. But at least there was like, it seemed like they cared. It seemed like there was like an esports scene and players were passionate. And I really don't think it takes much manpower to do. Guess what? Right now they're saying, hey, you know what? Here's this grant. Apply for it. But no one's going to apply for that grant because everyone that applied for that grant last season even lost money out of their own pockets producing these tournaments, right? Wow. Like you talk to E4E. We watch E4E and we're like, oh my gosh, it's so well ran. That's because Chief dug out so much money out of his pocket. We watch what's the guild called that ADR used to be in? Meta
MMG.
MMG. We watched them throw the most beautiful tournament, but they lost deep on that and everything. So really the first like well-established orgs like this from entering in, and if those orgs can't get ROI on it, then what makes you think other people are going to say, hey, there's a grant, we're going to apply for it? And then speaking of next, it's just like, okay, fine. If no one's going to apply, I still want you to like, care for the esports team. I feel like Axie Infinity hosted a tournament before. It was the qualifiers for the World Cup, and it was online. Like, what's wrong? Why can't we just have like one online tournament per month? And maybe it doesn't have to be a ridiculous amount of money. Maybe 10K. 10K is a good prize where first place wins 5,000 and then second place wins 2,000, and that's good money. But at the same time, I feel like it wouldn't cost much to them. At the same time, I feel like it would keep the pro players happy. We're not asking for much, honestly, but there was a lot of sense of false direction of where Axie was heading when it comes to esports. And you know what? At first, and Rollo told me something pretty crazy, and he can elaborate on this too. Like, he really felt like esports was the future. Sora really feels like esports is the future, right? Rollo changed his contract to, hey, how about I keep 100% of my tournament earnings and I lower my salary, right? And stuff like this really affects people like him, but not just him, but other people, other orgs. That's why other orgs are dying. They bought in thinking that this was going to be the sense of direction.
Yeah.
You want to say something, Rollo?
I mean, yeah, bro. You know how I feel about this. I don't know. I hope they listen. I hope they watch the VOD and try to think, because they have, I think, an amazing community. They just need to value it, and like, I think they do usually, but this time with this whole pro player thingy, I think they went too far. I think they went too far, respectfully. And that's my vision. They have the numbers. I don't. I just play. I just live for your game every day of my life. And I hope you value this type of customers, because I think they are the best type of customers, players who live for your game. And I think that's what we need in this ecosystem. So if with a little more investment, we can provide value for those players and not ask for them like to invest $500 and get top 15 to get 500 back, and do it a little more, like, as I told Chuck, you can remove the 22%, but if the investment keeps on being the same number as last season, then it stops making sense for a lot of people, and the only ones who are going to compete are the ones that don't care about the money, and that's not healthy for the ecosystem. We need people who care about the money and people who don't care about the money, because we need the broader audience, broader. I don't know broader audience. But yeah, I just hope they listen, and I really think they need to think about a community esport advisor. Is something that is very important for us, because, for example, right now I was crying, and the main reason I was crying is because I feel like no one listens to us, right? I was thinking, is there anyone going to listen to this even? Like, are they going to even care about me crying? Or like, they probably not. And I was feeling like, man, shit, I should have just keep, I don't know, creating content saying like, yeah, go play this mode. Yeah, this other mode. Yo, I coach you with this stuff. But once upon in my lifetime, I decided, yo, I want to really try hard to be the best. And I even put my money where my mouth was, right? And I told them, yo, half my salary, I'll just play for less, but I want to keep my 100% winnings. And then Axie goes, wait, 25% less. And then next season, 25 more less. And then I'm like, I'm winning 50% less. I have to make almost the same investment. And it feels really, really, really hard. So
Yeah,
I wish they hear. And I met Jiho like 2 weeks ago, and I didn't tell anything about this to him. You know why? Because I value what he's doing. I value the ecosystem. I don't want him to think of me as a entitled little whiny baby who wants everything for him. That's not what I want. But I just want Axie to keep on being my life. And I think they want that too. So let's meet at halfway, right?
Yeah. By the way, speaking of the meme tournaments, I do think they have good intentions with it. I know it sounds silly to us, but in their heads, like, even if we don't agree, it might just be like, hey, maybe this will attract more viewership or maybe more participants, because more participants feel like they can join. Rollo, hey, listen. Anyways, but yeah, it's not like Pos 2 runs the whole esports head. He's probably just filling in right now because I know all the other roles he does in the company and whatnot. But I do think there are good intentions. Like, hey, maybe this might drive viewership up. I personally don't think it would, right? But like, it does add burning mechanisms, et cetera, et cetera. And who knows? I just know it's not like they're not trying to directly just slap us in the face. They have good intentions behind it. They're like, hey, maybe this would get more viewership because the top level tournament, which is pure meta, 10 Axies didn't do so well. What if a casual player says, hey, this is pretty cool. Like, I could buy this floor Axie that has an odd ID number. Okay, I know it sounds silly, but like, I think it's good intentions. Anyways, we're gonna be wrapping this up for sure. we're about to hop into our Q&A topic. So if you guys can ask some questions in chat that you might have directing towards all of us or any of us, that'd be dope. Personally, I just want to say something about this podcast. This podcast actually surpassed my expectations. A lot of real topics were tackled, and I really, really do hope, and I'll make a tweet about it later, that someone from SM or a lot of people in the community tune in to listen to certain segments of this. And I really feel like we can make a difference, especially vocalizing it in front of an audience. And then maybe if other people can hear us out too. And then so this was really dope. But yeah, Q&A is open. Is Rollo okay? Yeah, of course. He's just a passionate player, of course. And something like this directly affects his livelihood and everything. So yeah. How do you guys feel while we wait for questions and stuff like that?
I just really appreciate Chuck coming. I don't know. I feel like you might think this is just another day in the office for you, Chuck, but I think people watching us like actually talking and arguing, maybe sometimes having like the same opinion, sometimes not. Like I think it's a goal. It's a step towards a goal that I want. That is pro and non-pro in the same aisle. And like, because when I started Axie, as I told at the beginning of the podcast, pro and non-pro, we're the same, bro. Pros help non-pros, non-pros help pros, and I'd love to be back to that dynamic. I don't know. I even make a stream weekly where I help non-pros, sometimes pros tune in to help them set up their team and stuff. And I think pros are good for that stuff. So I really appreciate you coming, and I had a great talk. So thank you for that. And
I honestly didn't expect Chuck's view on this side of things. Honestly, it's really cool how he like understands our side, and I really like how I don't know, bro. You blew my mind during that little soliloquy. Like I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, no. A lot of people don't realize that I just troll a lot on Twitter. Like a lot of it's like when people meet me in real life, they are surprised that I'm not as crazy as
Chuck,
I am.
Did you see you did saw the last podcast, right?
Yeah.
I thought Chuck was the worst. Then I met this guy. He's like the coolest, like nicest guy on earth. I'm like, what the hell? This is not Chuck. There's no way. Yeah. Chuck is a nice guy.
Yeah, no, and like people think I'm really dumb a lot of times, but they don't realize I actually do take a little bit of thought on these things, and like definitely I feel like there's just kind of like Spam said, a communication going on right now, especially with like where sports is headed in Axie, and maybe they weren't, like Spam said, we're trying to make like a joke out of the esports scene with all these tournament ideas, but I feel like they should, like especially the people who are in charge of the esports, should relate more with the players and should help them grow in a sense, help them become like that's what esports all about. It's storylines, it's like where this player came from and stuff. That's what I love about watching esports in other games. It's like watching all these pros like Anna from Dota 2 winning 2 back-to-back tournaments in Dota 2, the international, and like how he came from nowhere, like he was trying really hard, and then out of all of a sudden this tournament came around and he like just went another level. He did something we had never seen before, and I love those storylines. I feel like Axie should move towards more of those things, and I do sort of seeing it starting with some of these big production ish like tournaments that I've seen. But like you guys are saying, like right now the productions are losing money, and that's a very big concern for me. It's like, why would you want to do that if it's just so expensive? And it is the bear market, like I said. Like it's maybe not the best time for esports in like big productions, but maybe like Spam said, we have tournaments run by Sky Mavis themselves to help support and make it like rarely do I know about these tournaments, only on Twitter. But not everyone's on Twitter, not everyone's on Discord. Like we need a way to announce like this tournament's going on, this is going on, and making Sky Mavis actually take importance in like the big tournaments. Like you need, like you want to tune into this tournament. Like we have all these crazy players playing, and you know, I do feel like it was a big hit. I started off the season being all for changes, but as more and more of the story developed, it does seem like they were double hit this season really hard, and I think they need to really really help out, like in a sense, the pro scene, to help us care about it. Because pro scenes, like I said, I love it. I love to watch storylines. I love learning about players and their passion. And you can obviously see it with Rollo here. He's very passionate about the game. Spamandrice, 1437, all these players, where they come from. And I just feel like Axie hasn't really done that recently. Like, it just seems like maybe they tuned in too much. They didn't realize I was trolling too much about the pro and non-pro thing. But I just feel like at some core, like when Ziori left, everything just went crashing down. It almost seemed like that happened. I'm not sure if that's the truth of everything. I'm not sure. I'm not behind the scenes. I don't make any decisions, but it would be something I would like to talk to the team about, and seeing what their thoughts on it all is, of course, and seeing what I can do from my end. I don't have any influence. Like, I just tweet. I don't believe Axie will change anything. People believe that I'm there behind the scenes, like holding the balance changes or whatever. But realistically, I just tweet. I've been around the game a lot. Maybe they do value me because I've been around so long, through the bear markets, through everything. But I do feel like this is something I could at least talk to the team about and see what their perspective is, more closer perspective, and what they can do. Is, I want to care about watching a tournament. I just didn't like that there was too many tournaments, but I want to see, like, the best players compete at the highest level in this stuff. Like, I
We need a
do see
circuit.
value in that.
We need a circuit.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways, guys, great podcast. I'm really happy with the topics that we tackled and everything like that. Is there anything you guys want to say before we sign off? We can start with Rollo.
Yeah, like now that Chuck is too nice, I need to find another drama to flame him on Twitter or something so we can keep on making content. But I really want to say, Chuck, I appreciate what you just said. It means a lot to me. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Spam, this podcast, I think it's going to be something that is going to be going on for a whole while. I think Axie is going to value this podcast a lot. I think you're doing something amazing. Chat Spam 1 if you want to see Rallo on next podcast. Just kidding. Yeah, thank you for inviting me. And yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Any closing remarks, Chuck?
No, just appreciate being able to be invited. I know I'm not a pro, but it was a non-pro and pro discussion. So being able to see it, even from my perspective, how I'm seeing these things, very casual perspective. But I do want to say that I do relate to the pro players, because one time, a long time ago, I did want to strive to be the very best, the best there ever was, like the best there ever was. And it was a long time ago when no one cared about rewards. It was just the OG people, and the only thing there was a ladder of numbers, like who was the number one player. And I played my heart out to try to get the top spot. There was no SLP, no AXX, no rewards. I grinded out and I became the best at that era. And I motivated a lot of people by trolling them. I motivated them by making them care. Like, if they lost, before, everyone would be like, oh, it doesn't matter, we lost, there's no reason for it. But the more I trolled people, the more I did this stuff, the more they suddenly said, I want to shut this guy. I want to beat him. I want to make him look bad. And I felt like people actually started caring about their rankings. So there is a value. Like I said, I understand the strive to be number one. And I think there's so much value in that. That's what makes games so amazing to me. And do I want to play better in Origins? I'm trying to, but it's getting more competitive. I was trying to get into the top one spot again, but it's too hard right now for me. I've been like ranging between 500 and 600, so it's been challenging. I see a lot of good players playing right now, and yeah, and much respect to the pro players. As much as guys, I do see your passion. I do see what you guys do. And for me personally, I'm just happy to be able to be part of the talk, be a part of the discussion.
Sounds good, man. Thank you. All right. Anyways, guys, that will be all for today. Thank you once again so much for all the support. Thank you, Rollo and Chuck, for making time out of your days. I know I'm a very sporadic guy, so I'm super happy that you guys are able to join and everything like that. We appreciate every single person that tuned in and everything like that. For anyone watching the podcast, stop by. You guys can catch us on our socials at Radioralo. I almost said Ronin Rallo. That's kind of catchy, by the way.
Ronin Rallo, I'm down, but it's too Gila. It's too Gila.
It's too Gila.
Yeah, it's too Gila.
Anyways, catch you guys next time and signing out. Bye bye.
Boom.
Now we act cool until it fades. All right, thanks, guys.